Wanted to do a quick video about a lot of what I've been hearing about a lot in on social media, things of that nature. And that's the topic of cultural appropriation. I don't understand this argument that what seemingly seems to be a one-sided issue in the black race, typically coming from women, black women. And I've done videos on this before, so I won't really go too far into it. Especially my video pertaining to Rachel Dolezal and The Root and their one-sided skewness of reporting about cultural appropriation, because I'm glad to start seeing it, that a lot of black men are calling out the hypocrisy, such as, how can you walk around every single day with a fucking wig on, fake hair, that does not look African or negroid, whatever you want to call it. It don't look like what you was born with, and then complain about white people who wear afro wigs or who dress up on Halloween or whatever the case may be, because this is typically the around the time of year where you start hearing about cultural appropriation and all this other dumb shit. Now, when I was growing up, the one thing I always saw black girls with was, one, especially around my age, when I'd say probably about from 10 to like 16, 17, I predominantly would see black girls with their own hair, and they typically would either be like two afro puffs, or they would be two little braids or something like that. And that's typically what I grew up seeing. And then probably when I hit about 18, 19, 20, then on up until now, I started seeing this whole, silky shit, smooth shit that ain't kinky. And then probably when I was like around 26, 27, 28, not that I had not seen the whole blonde hair thing before, but it seemed like I was seeing it more often. Now, why is it that white women aren't going around complaining, crying in the media, talking about why are black women culturally appropriating our hair? Yet black women can go around talking about, just when they're just doing it in fun, or if they just decide to put their hair in braids, there has to be this whole outrage about white women stealing black hair, black hairstyles. Just like the video I did about Rachel Dolezal and The Root, and that obese chick complaining about Rachel Dolezal wanting to braid black style hair. Does it really fucking matter? It's not like black women honestly wear those styles anymore. It's very rare that you walk around and you see black women wearing braids, wearing afros. It's not commonplace. It's an anomaly. It's very rare to see a black female these days in 2018 walking around with this big luxurious afro or these natural braids without putting fucking yarn and all this other synthetic hair and dumb shit in it. It's very rare. It's not like it was when I was growing up. When I was growing up, you saw a lot of black girls with their natural hair. They might put like extensions in it, but it wasn't none of this fake hair, synthetic hair, all this other dumb shit that they put in their hair now, and gluing shit on, wearing wigs. I mean, they always wore wigs, but it was like, it was like an older woman kind of thing. They're in their 60s, the hair's thinning out. They can't do some of the styles they used to be able to do, probably because they burnt it all out using all these damn chemicals. But at the end of the day, it's not like it is now. It wasn't what it was then is not what it is now. It is almost commonplace to see some black woman with non-black hair, and it's very rare, even if it's just their own relaxed hair. It's still very rare to even see that. For the most part, you always see some type of weave. And that, to me, is just, I'm sorry, but that is just ultimately disgusting. That you would glue or sew or however you get it in there, you would put someone else's hair on your head, on your body. That is disgusting. And yet, for the most part, I get more pushback from saying that than they are disgusted by putting someone else's DNA on their body. And the more you come to find out about DNA, the more you realize how fluid DNA really is. That's why it's a lot of these crazy chicks walking out here, because they done let several of dudes nut up inside them. And they don't understand it's a transaction, and it's deeper than just you getting some joy and pleasure out of it. When you let another dude nut inside you, you are taking on all of his DNA. You are taking on everything about this man at that moment in time that he puts his sperm inside you. So if he's stressed out, guess what you're gonna be? If he's angry, guess what you're gonna be? He gets some of your energy too. But the female, takes the majority of the brunt of the DNA. And you putting other women's hair, sometimes dead people's hair, all on your body, and you have no idea where that hair came from. Because even if they tell you it came from somewhere, you can't necessarily believe it. They be saying shit is organic, and then you turn it around on the back of the package, it came from China. Ain't a damn thing organic coming from China. So, I don't understand it. I don't see where there's an argument. Because if you can walk around with white girl hair or non-black hair, then non-black women should be able to go around complaining about how black women are culturally appropriating their hairstyle. You can't. A black woman's hair in its natural state cannot do what a white woman's hair or a non-black woman's hair can do. Can do. You can't. And yet, every time I say black women just want to be like white women, I get kickback, pushback, yelled at, screamed at, called names. But if you're wearing hair that looks like the people you claim to not like, that's very odd. That's very odd. I've heard black women refer to white women as being dogs. When their hair get wet, they smell like dog, and all this other shit. Constantly just saying negative shit about white women, but yet they have no problem wearing their hair. But at the end of the day, the proof is always in the pudding. No matter what is said, no matter what is so-called done, the proof is always in the pudding. And when you sit up there and you talk cash shit about a group of women because you feel they're taking all your good men when you didn't want those good men, that's the funny shit about it. I'll never forget, and I'll end this video on this note. I'll never forget the one time I dated, because I haven't dated many white girls in my life, maybe 2. But the one time I dated, this happened to be the second one, I remember we were at the mall. We were at, I think it was Rotterdam Square Mall. And I remember I happened to run into, I don't know, this is the weirdest shit. I happened to run into a black, well, I didn't run, I mean, I wasn't trying to run into, but I happened to see a black chick that I used to have a crush on way back in the day in junior high. I don't know what the hell she was doing out there but just happened to run into her and see her. So she saw that I was walking with a white girl and like looked at me, looked at her, and sucked her teeth as if like, this nigga, like, whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute. I tried to fucking get with you. Like, I literally asked you out and you was like, no. So it's like, and maybe she just didn't recognize me. That's a possibility. Maybe she didn't know who I was. I knew who she was. And she even looked at me like she knew who I was. But then when she saw me with the white girl, that's when she caught the attitude. But it's just funny. You didn't want me. So someone else did at that moment in time want me that wasn't black. But yet you still had a problem with it. And then I'll share this other story. Me and my wife, we celebrated, I think it was like our second wedding anniversary. And we went down to Atlantic City. And I'll never forget, there was a group of 4 black women who walked past this black dude who was with a white female. And, she wasn't necessarily skinny. But come on, you've seen black dudes with black chicks that are fucking, like them fucking mammoth looking chicks, okay? So she wasn't necessarily skinny, but she wasn't like obese. So we're walking by, and I hear one of them make a comment about it. Now in the same on the same boardwalk, it was like they were coming from my right hand side. There's a black woman with this fat white dude, and they walked by them. That couple walked by them. They said not a fucking word. They didn't say, "Oh, she with this fat white dude." Not a fucking word. Not a fucking word at all. And that ought to tell you something right there. And it's like Tommy Sotomayor always says, they've had access to white men or non-white men or non-black men since they came to this country, and black men have only relatively been able to go outside of their race recently and not be killed for it, and yet and still black men do it at a higher clip than they do. They don't. It's not like black men, the whole black male race is going outside their race. Black men still date within their race at over 80%, but when the few that do date outside their race, they do it at a higher clip than the black women who are trying to push dating outside of the race. So that ought to tell you something. Ought to tell you a whole lot.